What's going on, everyone? It's Alex here from Aleks Physio. So today we're going to be chatting a little bit about Steph Curry's subluxation that he sustained back on December 16th against the Indiana Pacers. Before we do that, I need you to hit the like button, comment, subscribe for future videos. It really helps my channel grow and allows me to reach more individuals. I have almost 250 videos on various topics ranging from exercise prescription, pain, different pathologies. I even have one video where I do a reaction to Shaden Sharp's injury that he sustained back in the summer league that you can check. Before we begin, let's talk a little bit about shoulder anatomy. So our shoulders are designed more for mobility versus stability. As a result, our shoulders are not very stable relative to the other ball and socket joint, which is our hips. Shoulder is a ball and socket joint. So what that means is basically when you're moving your shoulder in different positions, the ball is moving inside in the socket, and surrounding this ball and socket, you have a joint capsule, you have ligaments, you have muscles that attach around this area that provide some dynamic and static stability. And in addition, you have a labrum, and the labrum surrounds the socket and allows there to be more surface area in contact with the socket by the ball to help with the stability. Steph Curry sustained a subluxation, which is basically a partial dislocation and likely an anterior subluxation. So that is the most common kind of subluxation dislocation. It occurs in 95% of individuals who have had this injury, and it usually happens in a position of abduction and external rotation, so your arm out to the side. And this is kind of what we see with this injury, where Steph Curry reaches to try to grab the ball, to try to poke it away, and because that extra pressure that he had while he was reaching in this outstretched arm position, this caused that arm to go back, and boom, he felt that injury. Now what happens is when the shoulder subluxes, obviously it's not as severe as a dislocation, but it still partially injures the structures that are around that area. So we have a ligament, it's the primary restraint to shoulder, anterior shoulder translation, which is when the ball moves forward in the socket. It's called our anterior inferior glenohumeral ligament, and this is the ligament that was likely injured during this when they did the MRI. The other thing is when the ball violently rips forward with that initial injury, is it can injure the labrum as well, and this is what Steph Curry had. He also had a labral injury, which is called, depending on if this happened, and this is what it showed on the MRI, a Bankart lesion. So when you sublux, you injure the ligaments, you can injure the muscles, you can injure the joint capsule, but you can also injure this labrum. For people who have had shoulder subluxations, they do get better through a course of conservative treatment. I know Steph Curry was saying he was happy that he didn't have to have surgery. I mean, if this is his first or second shoulder subluxation, conservative care is definitely the preferred treatment option over surgery anyway, because when you do surgery, even if it is arthroscopic, you still invoke a trauma to that area, and the recovery can be longer than conservative. And I mean, if you don't have to do surgery, why would you? So conservative care usually at the beginning is going to consist of a bit of a period of rest, maybe immobilization in a sling, with usually the arm at your side and elbow bent to 90 degrees, just more of a neutral position. And then you start doing some range of motion exercise, some passive range of motion exercise where someone is lifting your arm for you. Then you have some active assisted, so using things like dowels or brooms just to kind of help with the range. Then you start doing it on your own. Then you start building up some of that strength, and the goal is just to gradually build up the tolerance of that tissue and allow the appropriate healing to take place. There was actually a research study that I'll link below, done in 2019 by Yu et al., and they basically looked at NBA players and shoulder return to sport and shoulder subluxation and dislocations. But they did, the methods include that they had 50 NBA players, I think in the 2019-2020 season, who sustained a shoulder subluxation and dislocation, and they looked at how long was their recovery period, and they found that for individuals who had a partial dislocation or a subluxation, it was 3.6 weeks, and with a full dislocation, it was 7.6 weeks. But the individuals that had surgery, the average time to return back to playing in the NBA was 19 weeks. All 50 of the NBA players that were in the study returned back to playing in that time period. So it is a level 3 study, so not the best quality study, and it was retrospective, or they had to look at the research after the fact. Just give you a little bit of perspective in terms of recovery time, which generally can fall in line with what we would expect. I mean, tissue healing can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, but I mean, everybody's recovery is different, and in that case, the shoulder subluxations, it was less than 4 weeks. So I mean, obviously it depends on a bunch of different factors: prior history of shoulder injuries, any past medical history that can delay healing. So definitely something that can get better with time in rehab, but the rehab has to be progressive, following some of those load management principles. You reach, I teach you about the injury, I guess. You know, this happens pretty common. So definitely something that when he does go back to sport, it's imperative that kind of with the return to sport guideline, you're doing a lot of movements and a lot of perturbations, you know, just getting confident and strong in those positions. A lot of, you know, pushing your arms in different positions, making sure you tolerate okay, making sure you have that good strength and that dynamic stability with strengthening the rotator cuff muscles, strengthening the scapular stabilizers, just strengthening the biceps, just, you know, those muscles around there to build up more stiffness and resilience, but also to build up the mobility. So it's kind of that catch-22. You want to build up the stability, but you also want to promote mobility because the shoulder is designed for mobility. But just looking on the NBA website and seeing different injuries, and there's quite a lot of people who are out with injuries. So obviously this is something that's quite common. People are getting injured all the time, even with access to all the therapy and the equipment and technology in the world. Injuries do still happen, and it's super important that we manage it to help, you know, these individuals get back to their sport as soon as possible and as soon as safely possible. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. Subscribe if you found this content valuable. Let me know if you have any other ideas on future videos. See you in the next video.